garden graffiti, garden graffiti, garden graffiti, garden graffiti.
All right, now it's time to fill my raised beds. In addition to super good garden soil, is there anything else I'm going to put inside these beds? I don't know. Is it something that could improve water retention, be a beautiful host for microorganisms, and save me a lot of money in soil costs? Oh yes, there is. What is that thing I'm going to put in my beds? Old, rotting wood. Oh yes, my friends, we are putting old rotting wood inside my beds. We are using the Hügelkultur method. And today I'm going to explain what that is. Let's get right to it. Hügelkultur is a gardening and farming technique where organic materials such as logs, branches, leaves, grass clippings, and other plant debris are buried underneath layers of soil. Traditionally, Hügelkultur mounds are not built in wooden raised beds like I'm doing. Typically, they're just built up from the ground. Here's some pictures of some Hügelkultur beds from the interwebs. See that? Pretty cool, right? Traditional Hügelkultur mounds are around 6 feet high, which is bonkers and awesome. So we're adapting this technique for use in raised beds because we can still draw the same benefits. And just what are those benefits? Well, in a Hügelkultur bed, the buried organic matter slowly decomposes, providing nutrients for the plants growing on top of them. They also act as sponges, retaining water that can be taken up by the plants. Hügelkultur pros contend that if you build your beds the right way, beds don't need watering and can even withstand a drought. I can't personally guarantee that, but that's pretty cool if that's true. But there are other benefits as well. As the wood in a Hügelkultur bed breaks down, it heats up the soil, which can extend your growing season. Last, and this is my favorite benefit, you're repurposing nature's waste products and saving money on soil. The more wood you use, the less expensive soil you need to buy, and as any gardener will contend, soil is expensive. This technique originated in Germany, as you could probably tell from the German sounding name, and has been used for centuries as a way to improve soil fertility and moisture retention, especially in areas with poor soil quality. Okay, let's get back on location and make sure you know what kind of wood to use for your Hügelkultur beds. Okay, what kind of wood do we want to use for our Hügelkultur beds? Old wood is the best. This tree probably fell, God, I don't know, 10 years ago. It's really old. As you can see, it's kind of flaking off here, but this is just going to be a sponge. When this is inside of my bed, oh man, it's going to be wet. It's going to have all sorts of microorganisms in it. It's just perfect wood for this system. Now, a few things on that. If you live in an area where you don't have access to like wood in general, maybe the system isn't for you. And you know what? Hey, if that's the case, that's okay, right? Like I lived in Los Angeles, you know, most of the people were renting. There wasn't just forest all around the city. And I didn't do Hügelkultur and my beds were great. So again, if you can't do this, don't lose hope. But I really want you to just think about what's available. So if you have land and you have downed wood, you're going to be good. But also if you live in an area where there is wood like this within 5 miles of you, go knock on somebody's door and just be like, hey, can I clean up a little bit of your little forest? I'm making a garden and I need some super old ratty wood. That would be awesome to hear. Again, old wood is the best. It's going to have all of the benefits that we're talking about here. So yes, rent a pickup truck if you don't have one, or U-Haul or something, and just offer to go clean up someone's place. That's my recommendation. Let's keep going. Okay, so here's all we're gonna do. It's not too complicated. I'm gonna basically make a lasagna. I'm gonna make these layers of wood, and I'm gonna put the wood every which way. This is as per the recommendation of Paul Wheaton, who's a super Hügelkultur, permaculture expert, and he talks about how most of the people on the internet kind of line up their logs perfectly. They usually do new logs too, which is silly, but they line them up in little lines at the bottom, and they just do a lot of logs and then they do a bunch of soil on top. We're gonna do it a little different, and this is kind of as per his recommendation. We're gonna do wood going every which way. We're gonna cover it with soil, make sure everything is covered. Then we're gonna do more logs, more soil, etc., etc. I'm gonna leave about 6 to 8 inches of just soil at the top, but that's gonna be the flow. We're gonna make a sweet little baby garden lasagna. All right, then I'm just gonna kind of fill in all of that till the wood is totally covered. Now, this is just a quick note. You want to make sure that the soil you're using here is pretty good. You don't want it to be like lifeless, dead dirt from your yard. The permaculture experts I've heard talk about this, they talk about the importance of this. For the whole symbiotic relationship to occur, you need to have living organisms in the soil. Now, I do want to stress that soil can get super expensive. And I am using some super good soil on like the top 4 inches of my bed. That's not what I'm using here. This stuff isn't too bad, but it's still alive. I just want to stress that, you know, some areas, municipal programs have like compost to give away or, you know, stuff like that. You know, use something that's decent-ish for these middle layers. Don't just use lifeless dirt. Cool. So as you can see, the bed is, you know, almost like halfway full. I did that first layer of wood, put in soil, and then did another layer of wood and then soil. And I'm just gonna fill in the rest on top with soil. Okay, quick note. For this middle filler layer, feel free to add other additional inputs. You know, I'm mostly just using old rotten wood, but in Hügelkultur, you can use all sorts of other things. You can use vegetable scraps, you can use leaves, you can do pine needles, you can do pine cones, you can do some manure, people do that, grass clippings, you know, that is all cool. Pull in really quickly, I'm gonna show you something here. What do you got here? Yeah, that's dog hair and eggshells. What's that from? Well, that's actually from my own personal compost pile. And as you can see, this compost is not finished. It doesn't look like soil yet. You can still see leaves and stuff everywhere. That is more than okay, right? Not only is it taking up space and saving me on soil costs, but it actually is encouraging the decomposition of those bigger logs, right? Because you have nitrogen sources in there. That is awesome. That's gonna cause the logs to heat up and all the Hügelkultur magic to occur. So feel free to add that. And now I'm just gonna add my okay-ish soil on top of this. Hey, time for a wood break. This is some wood that I just collected and it just rained. Check this out. See that? That's what old wood does. Okay, go get some old wood. Okay, so this bed is almost full. I have a rake, I'm gonna kind of even it all out. And in my bed, I'm gonna leave about 2 inches of space, and then I'm gonna put on some really awesome soil. Remember, this is okay-ish soil, right? I'm gonna put the really good stuff on top. Now, ideally for your bed, I would love you to do about 4 inches. I'm doing about 2, but yeah, that's what we wanna do. We're filling it with our okay-ish soil and then putting the really good stuff at the top. You know, the root zone is mostly gonna capture, you know, about 4 to 6 inches down. So that's why we want that stuff to be good. Let's keep going. And then I'm just gonna kind of mix these top layers together. Again, I don't wanna like mix this with the bottom of the bed here, but I'm just gonna kind of move it around with a rake. Could use a rake, you could use your hand, could use a little shovel. I'm just gonna kind of mix it together. That is it. We are done and it's time for me to plant. A few more quick notes and then we're out of here. So first and foremost, if raised beds are out of the game for you and you want to do this in ground, you are in luck. The real Hügelkultur OGs actually do it in the ground. So look up some videos by Paul Wheaton or Sepp Holzer. He's like the OG guy. There's a lot of people on the internet. Just Google Hügelkultur, in ground, and you'll see some stuff. We're adapting it for a raised bed. Just the quick note I would give you is that, like, in retrospect, I probably could have used more wood. If you want to, feel free to do that. I just, in the little forested area I was picking from, that's what was on the ground, so that's what I used. So, if your situation, if you have more wood, feel free to go nuts. Again, cover it though, as I talked about. You want to cover all the wood just the same. The other quick note I would give you is that when I was estimating the soil, because again, I needed to bring in soil, I way underestimated. I figured since I was adding all this wood, I wouldn't need as much soil, and it was not much of the case. So I had 4 raised beds to fill that were 12 feet long each and 2 feet tall. And so roughly each bed required, they have all these raised bed calculators online. If you want to figure out how much soil you want to use, just Google raised bed calculators. Gardeners has one, a lot of websites have one. It's pretty easy calculation. You do the length times width times height, all the stuff. But anyways, each of my beds was supposed to be 2.87 yards of soil. And so I figured, okay, I needed maybe 2 for each bed. And I was way off. So again, really still, you're gonna need a lot of soil. So just keep that in mind. And then that is that. I hope this was helpful. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe like all the teenagers say. And I hope you have a great one. Take it easy.